Hey everybody, Questwise here, and today we're going to continue our journey through the Palladium Fantasy world, and we're going to sort of backtrack a little bit into the island kingdom of Lopan. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced, Lopan, however you'd like to pronounce it. And we're going to take a little walk into the Garden of the Gods. So I received this raw preview edition from Palladium Books. This is if you don't know what the raw uh, editions are, that they are sort of a manuscript that is done before the actual book is fulfilled, and it gives you sort of an inside peek into what the book might actually contain. Now, these will probably change a lot. In fact, there's no art or anything in these per se, and so that will be added later once the book is in production. But it gives you, they only make 150 copies of each one of these, and it gives you a little glimpse into what the book will be when it finally does come out to the public as a whole, with art and everything fully produced. But I found this very, very interesting, and I wanted to talk about this a little bit. And last time we talked about the northern hinterlands, and we talked about the other, we talked about some other parts of that area in particular. So Lopan, the island kingdom of Lopan, is sort of sandwiched in between, just south of that. Next week we're going to go off on into the northern wilderness, which is sort of to the northeast a little bit, and then it'll take us northern beyond that into the kingdom of Byzantium. But today I want to talk specifically about the Garden of the Gods, not so much about the island of Lopan, because we don't really know a ton about that area yet, or if we do, maybe it's in a source book that I don't own, but I know there's a minor brief discussion of it in the core rule book, and there's some more descriptions in this book as well too, and it'd be interesting to see once this book gets completely fleshed out, see if they add any more about that as well. But the Garden of the Gods is a very unique location within the island itself. It can be described as many different things. It can be described as a monument, a temple, a natural phenomena, or a mystery itself. It is a place hidden within the hills, and is magically sort of secreted away on the island, and contains a multitude of different statues of gods or monuments to gods that are long forgotten, and maybe gods that have never been known to human minds. There are some human gods there as well, but there are statues of gods covering a breadth of a long part of the history of the Palladium fantasy world that has never been discussed before. And I think that's what's most exciting about this source book, is that it adds an era of the Palladium fantasy world that is far beyond ancient. And that always fascinates me. I love games that sort of delve into long forgotten history and the discovery of those types of things. So there are 35 gods that are statted up in the book, but there is a chart because it says that there are countless others, thousands of gods within the garden. And so they give you a chart in order to sort of create your own if you don't want to use the 35 that are in there. Each one of them has sort of a specific sort of adventure hook and or sort of campaign starter, as it were. This would be a great place to start a campaign and an adventure site, because there's a lot going on. One of the gods that they focus on the most is the Titan Knight, who 1,000 years ago, Sir Aikenhall, a paladin, sought out the mysteries of the island, and when he was there and found the garden through the Crystal Castle, he was drawn to the Titan Knight. And this is a statue with only the feet remain. At some point, mysteriously in the past, the statue itself was broken into pieces, and the pieces are scattered around the Palladium fantasy world. He made it his duty to try to reclaim these pieces and bring them all back together, with the promise that something would happen once all the pieces were reconnected. Even he didn't really know what would happen. He was given a magical sword called Compass Point, and on the hilt of the sword was a gem that enclosed the compass and would point to the next piece of the statue that needed to be found and brought back and reassembled. Um, I believe, if I remember reading correctly, there are 3 pieces still left. They're still missing, and thus you can build sort of campaigns and adventures based upon if you want your characters to try to go and seek out those last remaining pieces. There's lots of history on how the other pieces were found and brought back together, and some sort of adventure hooks or rumors of where the other ones might be. So there's a lot of great stuff lost in there, or left in there as well too, for characters to explore. So after Sir Aikenhall had died, or just before he died, he founded a sect of knights called the Fossorian Knights, and they now have built a castle around the entrance to the garden, and now protect it and caretake the garden itself. Anybody can come and go from the garden as long as they remain peaceful and they remain respectful of the gods in the garden. So there are stats in the book that you can become a Fossorian Knight or a Caretaker, different OCCs that allow you to play in that if you want to be a part of that as well too. I think the island of Lopan is a very interesting piece because it's such wrapped in mysteries, and there's a lot of enigmas there to sort of figure out. And I think that's kind of what's exciting about basing some adventures here, and is definitely an important part of the fantasy world that could be explored, and there's a lot of stuff that could be added to your campaign that's sort of born out of this as well too. So the Palladium Fantasy world, and what really draws me to it as a whole, is that there's a lot of mysteries to be solved, and there's a lot of empty spaces on the maps to be sort of explored and to built personally by you as a game master or you as players to explore. And I think that's what's really fascinating to me. I love it when games leave a lot of stuff left for the characters to build on their own, because you have a place like the Forgotten Realms in D&D, there's not really a lot of stuff left, a lot of spaces left to sort of explore and build and make your own. While I appreciate that it's so fleshed out the way it is, I feel like I really enjoy when the players, or my group, as players and game master, we get to create our own sort of sort of histories and build our own sort of excuse me, things that are left, and make the world our own, and have our own adventures that are going to vary widely from any of the other adventures out there and stuff as well too, other groups around the world and stuff. That's what I really appreciate about the Garden of the Gods, is there's a lot of mysteries left to solve. And there's a lot of great stuff, campaign and adventure ideas that will give you years and years of adventures to come. So the quick look at the Garden of the Gods, kind of a quick review of the book itself so far. Again, it's still in the raw edition, so there is a lot more great stuff to come from that, I believe. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it when it's fully completed with all the artwork and stuff included, because I would love to see some of the statues of these gods, or what the gods themselves represent and what they look like as well too. Next week, like I said, we're going to head towards the northern wilderness, and then from there we're going to head north to Byzantium, and then we'll probably circle back around and head down to like the Yinsloth jungles and some of that stuff as well too. So thanks. Until next time, I'm Questwise, and I am out.